Welcome everybody to another exciting session. Today we're talking about analytical skills, but we're going to be doing this very quickly in 30 minutes. So if you feel like I'm going it a bit slower or a bit faster, please do let me know so that I can be able to reduce the pace accordingly. Today we are looking at what are the signs that whatever analytical thing that you're working on, you have properly solved. Remember, first thing that I'm gonna do, I'll always go back to our benchmark. It's called the iceberg of ignorance. So we got a little iceberg here, and it's got all the way down there. It's a little iceberg. Right here we have the water level. So with this iceberg of ignorance, I'm just gonna put iceberg. With this iceberg of ignorance, it tells us that the top executive know about 4% of the actual problems within the organization. People that are down here, which are frontline people, they know about 100% of the problems. But because we know about all the problems that are here and we work very closely with the frontline people, when we get a question from the top, we might be stuck into presenting all possible solution or all possible problems that they're going through. And in this session, we're going to be talking about when do you know that whatever you are doing here is enough and you can stop and you can send your information upstairs. That's exactly what this session is all about. Knowing that whatever problems that you had to face, you have reached the enough level, it's good enough for you to send it up. We're going to be looking at 4 things that can actually tell you whatever you are doing is good enough for you to send through your analysis. Failure to do that, you run the risk of what we call analysis paralysis. Analysis paralysis is when you feel like it's not enough. You still need to show more problems. Sales are down because of system, because of commission, because of you keep on going and going and going to a point where you are just paralyzed by analysis. And instead of this thing going upstairs, it never goes anywhere. It just goes into a circle. So you just keep on going into a spiral cycle that doesn't lead anywhere. That's where analysis paralysis problems come in. So before we get stuck on analysis paralysis, we have in this session to say, hang on a second. Once you go through these 4 things, you might just know that whatever you have, however pretty or non-pretty it is good enough for you to send it upstairs. Your managers down here will have a different knowledge levels of the problems. The ones that are down here will have like 74% of all the problems. That's what Yoshida's model is telling us. And then down here, they'll have about 19% of the problems. So along the way, you might have people telling you add. But sometimes you might find out that whatever you have that is as minimum as possible is good enough to send upstairs. So we'll also look at ways that if you have a problem, because you know about all the problem, when you send it to your team leader who knows about 74 or 80% of the problem, might be telling you to say, it's not enough. Can you add this? Can you add that? And the problem becomes the 2 of you get stuck here on the cycle called analysis paralysis, because you know so much about the problem. And this is where most analyst teams are. They are sitting on analysis paralysis, hence the term analysis paralysis. But at one point, you might find out that your information is good to go and you can present as soon as possible. So let's just start right now. Let's start by looking at what can you do on your side to ensure that whatever you have, it's good to go. Okay, first one is you're clarifying the problem that you had. Number 1 is to clarify. How do I spell clarify? The problem. So you might be told, okay, here's the problem. You must give us what's happening with the sales numbers. That might be the problem that you're dealing with. What's happening with the sales numbers? For you to understand that the problem that you are dealing with, you understood it. There are certain frameworks that you can follow. But the easier one that I personally love is the rich picture. So a rich picture, I'm just gonna write it here, rich picture diagram. So this is a strategy tool that we use to make sure that we get all the voices of everybody else within the organization. Let me just share my screen quickly so that I can show you what a rich picture looks like. So if I come here and I share my screen, and you will just understand with a simple example of what a rich picture looks like. At first, I know it looks a little bit confusing, but let's just follow it through. We have a problem here. It's about police statement request, or the process whenever somebody else, something happens to them. We want to understand when a person, is normal, what is the process that's being followed? When the person, has got issues, what's the process that's being followed? So to do that, you might find out that, okay, we have all the stakeholders all around here. They have all different voices. That's the beauty of a rich picture. It just doesn't show one voice, which is just you, one person, whatever you want or your perception. But a rich picture shows all the stakeholders that are involved on this police case. I'm using the police case because we already know what happens, when you go to the police. So in this case, let's say somebody is in hospital, and the doctors are asking to say, oh, hang on a second, when you have a patient and the police needs something, you can ask for, consent. This person needs treatment, and the doctors, needs to be given consent. And what the doctor's point of view on this thing is, do I have the time? Can I remember how long ago did I treat the patient or something like that, if the police needs the information? And on top of that, we have another, is not the real stakeholders, but you might have medical records. And on top of that, you have a legal expert who has their own issues of confidentiality. If somebody is involved with the police, is there confidentiality? Is there a reputation of their hospital? Is it well known to be treating such people? And then after that, you have the receptionist that maybe sitting in the hospital area, who might be given a handwritten note by the doctors. Then handwritten note comes here, they do all the follow-ups, and then their perspective is this one that's written in white. I need to chase up with the doctors to find out if whatever has been treated, the patient, and then they're doing all their duties. That's their concern. And then after that, they're capturing all of this thing on maybe Excel spreadsheet, or even, on a health information system, whatever they are working on. After that, they send the letter to the police themselves after the patient has been treated for whatever reason is, step wounds, whatever the case is. They get sent to the police, and the police says, okay, hang on a second, we will have to identify and connect with the patient or the doctor. That's their problem. If something is not clear, they might have to liaise with other people that are involved within the case. And after that, the police will be interacting with the court down here, and the court, might be interacting with the coroner, if in case the patient has already, it's not a living patient. And then the coroner will have their own, perspective, which is all the stuff that are in white. So here, when you just get the question that says, can we analyze what's going wrong with the current process, which is what we're looking here, the police statement request process. We're having all these voices that are coming through in a beautiful thing that's called rich picture. Just remember that it's rich because it has all this rich information. So a rich picture might be the best way for you to get clarity on what you are working on. Then when you know that what you worked on, you had clarity on, and you are all perfect, you have no need to worry. Whatever you have solved might have, if it's representative of all the questions that you had about the police statement request, and it's representative of all the voices that are in there. We will talk about all these voices a bit later. I'll bring up this thing a bit later. But if it's it represents everything, then you know that whatever problem that you have being given, it's well solved. So you don't have to stress about that. you can just keep on going. It's well solved. Okay, so now let's go back to our second way. So first way, clarify the process, and then we use the rich picture for that. Second way, is something else that we are supposed to be cognizant of. You generate alternatives. So when you generate the alternatives of the process, like in the police station, it doesn't mean that you must go generate all possible alternatives that are existent under the sun. Because if you do that, you're gonna come here to this issue of analysis paralysis, where you're going to be crippled by too much analysis. So when you come here, when you say, find out if generate and evaluate all your alternatives, I'm just saying, go to a certain level. At what point you need to stop. When you get to stop, and then you just stop. The whole issue of that is so that you know that you have done all creative and logical way of thinking in terms of brainstorming, going into the problem. You just didn't go narrow-minded. You analyzed all of that. That's why you have to look at the alternatives. You also look at the pros and the cons, and you look at the feasibility of the impact of whatever solution that you are giving. But if you also have all of those things, then you know that you are good to go. As long as you have covered all the potential risks, all the potential benefits, and the trade-offs of your solution, then your solution is good to go. So just don't get stuck on analysis paralysis to say, what does the police process look like? What does the other people's process look like? The people that are security guards process look like? And you compare it with different countries, compared to developing versus developed countries. Once you go that route, you are running the risk of going into analysis paralysis. All you have to do is just show that you have followed a logical way of thinking. You have brainstormed, because you have done the rich picture, and the rich picture will show you, okay, we have all these views from different people. You're bringing all those views together, and you formulate your answer. And once you formulate your answer, bringing all these views together, you are ready to go on with your analysis. While I'm here, there's something else that I love in economics. It's called ceteris paribus. I think most of us that left economics in university will get excited when you hear about this ceteris paribus. All it means is economics cannot solve all the issues. They're just saying, this solution that we're giving you is perfect. It will work on condition that everything else remains as it is. So in that case of the police process, we can easily say ceteris paribus, everything else still remains as is. We don't have multiple coronas. We don't have multiple hospitals that patient goes from one hospital to another, until they pass away. And we don't have different receptionists, that one receptionist was employed, and then halfway through the 6 months that the case was going, another receptionist came in, and then the water came in and bent. All of that, you're just going into analysis paralysis. You just do ceteris paribus, and then you move on. You forget everything else. Okay. So when we go to the third step, that show you that whatever you have analyzed is good enough, we come to the implementation of your solution. So we have to do implementation of solution. So when you get to the implementation of your of the solution, and it's not just implementation, it's also implementation and monitoring. Let me just put here monitoring. Yeah, because it's pointless to just implement, to say, oh, we're gonna have a new police process, but you have to go back and say, oh, hang on a second. We have the new police process. Where does it go wrong? Is it efficient that it can go this way? When we digitalize it, what does it mean? Does it mean when the patient comes in, they'll have a barcode, and every time we just scan with the barcode and it already reads automatically or something like that? Whatever the case is, Once they say, what's wrong with our police process, and you come here and you do your recommendation to say what is wrong with the police statement, you must be able to give recommendations that you can be able to monitor, and you can be able to, feedback on that thing to say what's wrong with it is because of this issue. We were able to track it over a month, and we realized that it is true. This is where the issue is, not just what the data is telling us, but we're able to track it going forward to realize that, okay, this is the real problem. So when you're doing your tracking and implementation, it's so that you can see that you have planned the necessary actions, resources, and steps to make sure that whatever you are giving out as a solution, it's viable. Because remember, the people at the top here, whenever we report, they want viable solutions that we can work on, not just hiffy-diffy solutions, but real viable solutions that they can work on. So once it doesn't matter what your other level of management might want, but if we know that, okay, what we can do, it can be tracked and it can work, and we send it up, then we are good to go. So I'm gonna go back to that rich picture that we had, just to show you quickly. So when we go back to that rich picture, when we're doing this step of implementation and tracking of the solution, we go back to all those voices that are highlighted in white bubbles. We check to say, the doctors, when they say what is wrong with the problem, if their concern is, do I have the time to be doing all of this thing about the process, looking after the patient and sending it to the police? If you're going over there to say, hang on a second, does the doctors, do they have the time? Did I properly make provision for it? You'll say, yes. The time that we had put there, we have given them 72 hours, which is about 3 days, to sort out this issue. But it looks like these people are so hectic, they can only look at filing after 5 days. So probably that issue that says, do I have the time, when you're doing your tracking and monitoring, you'll come back with another column to say, hang on a second, the process had wanted 72 hours, but in actual fact, we need more than that. We need to add another 48 hours on top of the 72 hours to make sure that this whole process works. Same as in here on number 2, when it comes to looking at all the alternatives, you're looking at what is possible within the doctor's realm. What is possible to them? Do they do voice notes, or do they do whatever problem that you had? You come back to your rich picture and you encompass that into your alternatives, and also into the implementation of your solution. So that's just us coming back to the rich picture. I'm hoping that it's very clear. So when you come to the last part, this is where we do something else that most of us don't do, but we have to do it. Number 4 here, we're doing, I will call it documentation. So other people might call it reflection and learnings, because this is where we say what went wrong with our solution. So if we said to the big guys, the police problem it's got hiccups because of the doctors are taking too long. So now we can't get the police clearance, whatever the case is, and the coroner cannot give us the detail. And hence why, if you're an insurance company, you'll say it impacts our payout, and our clients becomes impatient and crazy that we don't pay out. Once you have all of that figured out, 1, 2, 3, you clarify the problem, you got your alternatives, and you've been monitoring your whole process. You come down here, you have to sit down and document it. Now, most of us will send this step to business analysts because business analysts normally, whether IT or operations, business analysts, they normally do documentation or that business requirement document in the BRD. They do documentation of whatever we're looking for. And this documentation route, we might leave it to the business analyst. But in actual sense, you don't have to hand it over to somebody else. If you are the analyst who's responsible for doing whatever the solution that you're working on, you should be the one who's doing the documentation. The documentation doesn't have to be as hectic or as detailed as the business analyst one, the business requirements document that goes into detail. It's just to say, when this problem occurs, this is how we solve for it. This is the alternatives that we have considered, and that's it. When technology improves, maybe your alternatives might be outdated and there might be new alternatives that come into play. But all of that, you just have to put it under your documentation. So documentation is also quite nice because it allows us it allows us to review the whole process that we went to, and also to see the entire problem-solving process in case somebody is not there. There have been many cases where I would solve something and I'm no longer there, or I'm on leave or something like that, and nobody can come in and rerun the solution upward. So it might look like it's a data issue, but in essence, we still have to take the soft skills of analytical thinking to say, hang on a second, I've been asked this thing. Did I answer the problem that I was asked? Even though it was vague to say what's wrong with our process, we're an insurance company, the clients are crying, what's wrong with our current process? We identify that our process in this case sits with the police process. There might be loopholes there that are making our rigid, insurance solution to fall apart. And that's why the top execs are being asked, that there's a lot of payouts that are not coming out. We answer that. We look at all the different solutions that are out there and we implement and we monitor them. We're like, okay, we're going to take a few cases. We go into a payout without maybe the whole Corona process. And then we're going to see what does it look like. And then after that, then we document it. It's like, okay, we took 5 cases. Out of the 5 cases, we realized that you don't have to follow the whole process itself. But what you can do is, if it's a 5-step process, we just allowed the payout on the second process and it went out. And in that way, you can just ask to say, then the issue that you had, what's wrong with the process, it was solved. So in that case, you don't have to go into analysis paralysis. Once you know that your problem that you were asked, you've tackled it and you found alternatives, you don't have to sit and say, what does the competitors do? What does other countries do? And you come back with all of that as your solution. All you have to do is just to look at exactly the problem that you had. Because I was asked about this problem, focus only on that one. Think about the alternatives only on this process that you are looking at, or problem that you are looking at. Don't consider all the other ones, because once you consider the other ones, you and your manager or your team leader are going to go into analysis paralysis. And analysis paralysis delays all the feedback that's supposed to go to top management for consideration. All of this, something that should have taken a week to monitor and finish and send out and document and send upstairs as a solution. This small thing could take 3, 4, 5 months, sometimes 6 months. Sometimes it could be a year and we forget that we still had the problem. So yeah, that's just that. I don't know, we have a few minutes. I don't know if there's any other question. If you're on YouTube, just type it out and I'll be able to get back to you. If you're on Zoom, just shout out and we'll be able to look at your question. Besides that, if I don't see any hands, I would like, if you sit down and you digest this and you're thinking, oh, maybe I missed something, don't you worry, the video is on YouTube. You can be able to go again on our YouTube page and rewatch it again. Besides that, we're going to continue with the same analytical skills on Monday. Then from there, we can, do another skill and then look at what can you do to improve the process that we're going in. The whole point is for us to inspire you to become a better, not just better, but an excellent expert analyst. But it's all small things like this that normally tell you that you've done enough. It's time to pull the plug and move on. So let me just thank you for joining, and I'll see you again on Monday. Cheers.